I've just come from spending about 2 hours outside, and I've reinforced the idea that the best thing to do when you feel frustrated is to take a break. You see, I've got a new tripod. It's been a long time coming since the tripod I've been using for the last 10 years or so is finally starting to show its age. So we got this hulked out tripod with all kinds of knobs and levers and locking mechanisms and different ways of mounting the camera. It can transform for overhead shots and even has a secondary mount for another device, so I can have an overhead shot and also mount my phone so I can talk to the camera at the same time. In cases where I've done that previously, I've always had to film the shot twice. The plan for this tripod's inaugural release was to make a simple desk tour video. It was something just to get my hands dirty in order to learn the tripod. Now, I'm not the type to study anything. If you explain an application to me, it doesn't stick unless I'm actually in the scenario real time, making mistakes and learning what I need to as the moment arises. I thought, how hard could it be to use a tripod? I'll film this simple video and get to know it at the same time. Instead, 20 minutes later, I found myself outside drinking cacao, clearing my head. So what happened? Well, I set the tripod up for its overhead shot, which already proved to be challenging as the lever to take out the mount and adjust it horizontally to fit the camera for an overhead shot was quite difficult to unlock. Another issue I was having was that the mount in the overhead layout wasn't staying locked, so it would be sturdy, and then every time I put my camera on it, it would dip forward. What became 1 minute soon became 5 minutes, and I became increasingly frustrated and upset with this new high-tech tripod. In response, I brought out my old tripod, thinking that I can just film the shot that I wanted, the traditional face-to-face shot, and then save the overhead filming as the next shot. Then I realized that I was disappointed with this new tripod temporarily, because it only turned out to be disappointment in my own frustration and disappointment in that I kind of from the beginning wasn't fully into what I was filming anyway. So I left the room and I was fully prepared to take a break in the way of sitting on the couch and binge watching videos and TV. I kind of in a way wanted to settle into my frustration. I suddenly felt how bad responding in that way would make me feel. I then found myself to be making cacao, taking my dog and grabbing the Remarkable and heading outside into the cold. I realized that I needed to leave that frustrating atmosphere that had then filled the entire apartment and do something different. I think sometimes I confuse clearing my head and taking breaks with disappearing into the internet. And what I found is by doing that, by disappearing into the internet, it just placates the issue and doesn't address it, which in this case was my frustration with wanting to film and ultimately being unsure if I even wanted to film what I originally set out to. I needed to remove myself to a place where I could be bored and let my mind wander, to experience the real world, the real sounds, the real sights and smells, and not the digital one. Now I want to be clear. This is not meant to be a case of less is more, solution to the problem creates more problem, and keep it simple, stupid. Over the past year, I have grown a lot in cinematography and experimentation, and it's been a struggle to achieve the look that I want with the restrictions of my old tripod. From propping it up to chairs to knocking into it as I try my best for a weirdly angled overhead shot. I also want to highlight something else briefly because I know inevitably it'll be something that somebody brings up. And that is, if my inability to figure out a tripod is the worst of my problems, then I don't know real problems. And I want to keep this point brief because while it's true, it's not necessarily right. And that's because this is YouTube. This whole place is not a real problem. Sure, I could get on here and dismantle my entire self in complete vulnerability, discuss controversial ideas and present challenging notions in the way of environmental, political, and socioeconomic issues. Ultimately, the direction of this channel is simple. It's musings, it's average challenges, it's bumps and successes that we all go through. It's about making your way through the streams of one's mind. No, being frustrated at working a tripod is not on the list of truly important things to me. My reaction to it is. The reaction to removing myself from a frustrating environment to a place where I can clearly think without the noise of 1,000 other strangers telling me what to think, that's something that I want to extend to all facets of my life. Not just to react in a deprivating, burying way, but to get a clear head and a clear mind by breathing fresh air and actually looking at the world. So in conclusion, I came back. Within 15 seconds, I was able to undo the lock of the mount, swap it the other way, and now I'm using it to talk to you, to the camera, to my audience. That's all for this one. Thanks for watching, thanks for tuning in, and I will be seeing you.